Welcome back to Street Economics. I'm Kevin Crowder, the founder, and this is Your City's Brand is Garbage. Maybe it really isn't, but your city, let's just say, your city just spent six figures on a rebranding initiative. You got a new logo and a new color palette. You got a tagline that sounds like it was generated by a committee of people who haven't left their house in a decade. You did a big unveiling event. You had a mayor with these big oversized scissors. The mayor was there with the big oversized scissors. And it looks exactly like every other city's rebrand. We've seen this movie over and over. You know, I spent 15 years inside City Hall in Miami Beach. I watched it from the inside. The city hires a consultant. The consultant hires focus groups. And the stakeholders argue about whether the logo should be blue or green. They compromise on something that offends no one and inspires no one. 3 years later, there's a new mayor. Might be a new city manager. The logo gets quietly retired, and you start the whole process over again. It's not branding, it's a recurring expense for a product that doesn't work. If your identity can be wiped out by a single election cycle, you never had one. You had a temporary marketing campaign, and probably not a very good one. So the truth is, nobody in that building knows who your city actually is. Nobody in that building, City Hall, actually knows who your city is. You see, most city halls are oblivious to their own streets. There's two completely different worlds in a city. There's the people who are living there, the people who are building businesses and working their asses off. A lot of them don't care about City Hall. They're too busy. They're not paying attention to the civic outrage minutia that's going on and the latest thing on the commission agenda that three people care about. If they're aware of you at all at the city, it's probably because you're in their way or you know the stories that are told in council chambers. But you don't know the stories that are told at the dive bar that's been there for 40 years. The stories told at the taco truck that has a line around the block every Saturday. Told in the barbershop where 3 generations get their hair cut. You only visit one of their nightclubs when it's for a noise violation or some other enforcement action. They don't have any idea what it's like to sit at that nightclub's bar talking to a pretty girl. But that's where your city actually lives. And because cities don't really know it, they hire consultants to tell them who they are. So what do? They give you a logo and they give you a tagline. And that tagline is based on public input from people whose pastime is hanging out at City Hall instead of their own community. You think you're doing branding, you're actually doing marketing. You see, branding is who you are. It's the concept you hold in the mind of a prospect or a constituent or a customer or a fan. Marketing is how you tell people who you are. A lot of cities have the marketing handled, somewhat. The Instagrams with the sunset photos, the Vista Bureau website. But what they often don't have or don't show is the soul. You see, you can't market your way into an identity. You either have one or you don't. You see, in the late 80s, there was a place that had one. A place that was left for dead. The elderly population was dying off, and crumbling buildings and crime and drugs, and nobody wanted to be there. That place was South Beach. You've seen me hold this up before in another episode. South Beach, what was its brand at that time? It was Wrinkle City. It was God's waiting room. It was, as the Miami Herald said, where dreams die. But something was happening underneath. The artists moved in because rent was cheap. The gay community found a place that could be themselves. The models showed up because photographers loved the light and the architecture, the musicians, the club kids, the weirdos, the people who didn't fit in anywhere else. The last stop on the train. Nobody planned it. It just happened. City Hall sure as hell didn't plan it. It happened because the place had an organic permission structure. You could be who you wanted to be. The architecture, it was gorgeous and it was falling apart and nobody cared if you painted your building pink. That wouldn't last. But that was the identity. It wasn't a tagline, it was a feeling. It was a tribe that was forming around a shared sense of what this place meant. And that tribe was made up of all different kinds of people, the most diverse sort of mix you could think of. But then it got successful and it got expensive. And then people who made it interesting couldn't afford to stay. So the identity just started bleeding out. And what's left now is a marketing campaign for a place that doesn't really exist anymore. Not the way it still exists in some people's mind. So you can lose your identity. You can lose it. You can lose a bad identity too. But the one thing you're not going to do is manufacture it in a boardroom or in a commission chambers. So how are you going to know if you have that real identity? Would somebody tattoo it on their arm? Not your logo, the thing your city means to them, the feeling, the belonging, the story they like to tell about why they live there and won't leave, why it is a place they wanted to be. See, no one's going to tattoo a tagline. They're going to do the thing that makes them feel like they belong somewhere, maybe for the first time in their life. That's what identity is. That's what branding actually means. It's not a color palette. It's an emotional truth that survives through ongoing political turnover within City Hall. So does your city have that? Do you know what it would be? But I'll tell you this, if you have to ask a consultant, you don't have it. So you don't need to be spending your money on logo redesigns. No one cares about your logo. Start paying attention to what's actually happening on your streets. Where are the people gathering? What are the stories they're telling? What did they love that City Hall doesn't even know about? So find the truth, not that aspirational bullshit in your strategic plan. The actual truth about who lives there and why they stay there, why they come there. And then take that and protect it. Don't pave it over with a new convention center. Don't zone it out of existence, and don't price it out with your own success. The cities that have real identities, they didn't brand their there. It happened, and the ones who do it really well recognize what was already true and protect it. So take your city stories, take your city's tribes, take your city's places where they feel like they belong, understand that, and wrap your arms around it, because usually City Hall is the last to know about any of it. See, marketing's not what's going to sell your place. Culture is going to sell your place. So figure out your culture. Your real one, not the one, again, that the consultant told you, not the one that came in your branding manual. That's the only branding exercise that matters. You don't need a new brand. You need a true brand. Thanks for listening to Street Economics. Our PhD is from the streets. Let's do it.